almost suicided myself just now. Microphone doesn't work, camera doesn't work, nothing fucking works. Wait. He probably sent the laptop through the room flying now. It was extremely close. Extremely close. That's actually what the whole retirement video was mainly about. It wasn't really about RC racing, other stuff. Releasing anger, stopping, removing the frustration and anger. It hasn't worked yet. Anyway, are we on? Like, is this stream still actually working? Because I had to leave and come back and restart and do this and that. So, is it working? Looks like it's actually working. That's amazing. 40, what am I? Half an hour late? Wow. That sucked. Okay, so what were we supposed to talk about? Well, first of all, with the beer fund from last week, or was it last week? Now we have a Lahden Erikois EPL extra pale lager, baby blue. That's what we're going with today. It's good. Tastes good. Amazing. Actually, I don't need these now. I don't need those anymore. Seems to be working. Oh God. What were we supposed to talk about? My mind went blank now. I had it all figured out. Now I'm just a waste of space. Maybe ask some questions or something and let's see if I can get started here. Lights are all messed up too. Everything's all messed up now. Jesus Christ. You see that hole in the wall? Yeah, I did that. Not right now. That's a while ago, but yeah, walking through some issues. Actually, it's kind of weird now. It's weird without headphones. I'm going to put my headphones on. I feel more comfortable. Okay, so today's topics were... Why? See, now my camera's... It can't focus. I'm telling you, there's something going on right now. Advice for becoming a much better driver from observing a baby. That's one thing. See, look at this. What is happening with my camera? It's living a life of its own right now. I'm over here. Fuck. See? I think I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown here. How do I turn this off? Stop trying to focus everywhere, since you can't seem to fucking do it. Okay? See how this works now. I will let you know. I need... Can someone explain what's happening right now? What the hell is going on? it's not darker than normal. The light is right here, where it always is. But other microphone broke. We don't need that anymore. It's really dark. It's not really dark. Maybe it's too light in the background. Trying to focus on the background. Fix the hole found incoming. Oh my god! I'm gonna smash another hole in there. So, okay. How about no lights? Try focusing on that. Try focusing on that now. €2. YouTube takes €1 of that, so I got €1 towards the hole. We got 55 people. I don't know. I don't know if I have the motivation to start with so few people. I don't know. I'm going to talk about babies, diff heights, Q&A. Let's get some questions going. I need to warm up here. I'm all frazzled. Okay. I'm frazzled now. That half an hour of battling my ridiculous camera, changing cables and USB ports, restarting, doing everything, nothing's working. It's not even showing up on my laptop. Not just the stream, nothing. It doesn't even show up. And then for no reason, it suddenly shows up. And then I start everything. That's when you want to smash those holes in the wall. I'm trying not to do that anymore these days. One day when I'm in the right mood, I'll explain. I'll explain the true meaning of the retirement video, but not today. Look at that. Thanks for your first race advice last week. I placed second in my first ever race. That's really good. I hope there were more than 2 races. My first ever race, there was 3 drivers and I got second. Kind of average. Like everything. Average. Just average. Oh, okay. Let's see if we had any questions. Ask some questions and share this stream, will you? I'm not on Facebook anymore. So take this link and share it on Facebook. Let's try and get some people over here. I'm going to be doing these weekly now, so we need to start building an audience, because I'm gonna make an effort to think of good, interesting topics for you and something new, like today, talking about babies and how they relate to you becoming a better driver. I've never heard anyone talk about that, so I will. And we'll have some good rants from time to time. I will talk about whatever you want me to talk about, really, because you can ask questions. So we'll try and make it good. Try and keep them relatively short, except today was a real shit show. But we'll work on that. We'll get some new cables, get some new equipment. Yeah, and don't forget the beer fund super chats, so I can afford a beer for next week's show. Yeah, today we have that extra pay lager. See, now it's not focusing. That's good. It's staying on my face. Okay, did we get some questions here? I'm going to be way late for my Mayako members meeting, which is after this, but I need to calm down for that and be a bit more serious. I'm the designer, of Mayako. Are you slower because you are getting older? Is that why you are retiring? No, that's not why I'm retiring. I made a whole video about it. It's got nothing to do with my speed or lack of speed or pace, whatever you want to call it. This weekend is the first Finnish national, and it's the first time I'm going to the nationals and not racing. So that's going to be interesting. I'll be helping Pekko Ivonen and Max Mört and whatever other Mayako drivers are there, but pitting for Pekko. Antonio, let's talk about something you like the most. Carpet, concrete, brick track setups. No. Just check the Nemo Raceway setup sheets. Soft roll bars, kind of normal roll bars, normal droop, especially in the rear, maybe a bit less in the front. Long chassis, long wheelbase, and big holes in the pistons, very thick oil. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I hate that stuff. What is the first setup change one needs to do to make a particular tire compound work for the track condition? I mean, it's too broad of a question, really. You have to, actually, you know what? I think this question did it. I think it actually did it. I can start talking about the baby now. How do you know? I'm going to change Eddie's question a bit. How do you know what to change first on your car? That's it. And 69, we have 69 viewers. Here we go. Now we're going to explain what a baby has to do with you learning to drive better. Cool? Here we go. Eddie's new question reads, how do you know what to change first on your car setup on a particular track with a particular tire? There, I updated the question. The only way to know what to change on your car is to be in a position where you have a connection with the car. You are not in the car physically, you cannot actually feel anything. You're just looking at the car, but you need to have a good enough connection just visually and with your hand-eye coordination so that it's almost as if you are feeling what the car is doing. In reality, you are just seeing it, but your brain is interpreting it very, like, in a very similar way to you actually feeling what is happening. So you need a connection to the car. And that's what we need to talk about first, because one of the most frustrating things for me throughout my time as a designer in RC is when people say, guess what it is in the comments. Guess what the most annoying thing is people say to me. I've heard it throughout the JQ racing years and now in the Mayako years, not that much anymore, but it still does happen. And it's mostly from non-professional drivers, but even professional drivers do this. There's just this one phrase, a combination of words put in a particular order, particular words, and it just frustrates me. Is the chat still here? The car don't suit me. Thank you, Bauman. The car just doesn't suit me. This frustrates me, really. The thing is that most of the people who say that the car doesn't suit me have no idea if the car suits them or not. Because A, they don't actually know how they are driving or what they are doing. They don't actually know what they need. And they don't know about setup or what to change. So if they try someone else's car, chances are that other person's car is better and they'll be faster. So then they're like, oh my God, I just drove this other brand from my friend and I was faster. It was better than my car. So the car I have, it just doesn't suit me. That's their conclusion. Now, in reality, if we analyze that situation, maybe the other car that they drove, maybe the person who owns that car is a better mechanic. So they have actually built their car better with a better setup and that's why it performs better. Or maybe it's just newer. Or maybe it's even if that driver tried someone else's car, but it was the same brand, maybe he would also be faster. Because it really matters how you prepare your car. Okay, that's one point. But we're getting sidetracked. We need to get to the baby point here. So back in the day, I always got triggered by this. Really, it pissed me off so bad when people said, "Oh, it doesn't suit me." And then over time, I realized that I shouldn't really care when people say that, because I know that they are wrong and I know I'm right. I'm not always right, but almost always. And when I drink enough beers, then I'm always right. So what I concluded was that these people, they just haven't spent the time to really think about this enough. So they just don't know. And it's pointless trying to explain to them or convince them that, no, you're actually wrong. You haven't tried everything on the car, etc., etc. Just leave it, forget about it. But at the same time, sometimes there can be some validity to this claim. The car just doesn't suit me. And that's because there are different driving styles and preferences. And some cars are heavily biased in one direction, where you can't really tune a certain aspect of the handling out of the car. So what I now we'll get to the baby, don't worry. Baby equals understanding car and learning. No. The baby has nothing to do with the car, actually. Just wait. What I wanted to do with the Mayako was create a car where no one could credibly come to me and say that the car does not suit me. Because, like I said, 99.9% of the time when people said this, they were wrong. But I understood that if you run a Mugen, or if you run a Kyosho, or if you run an HB, then there is actually a point to that statement of the car just doesn't suit me, because the Mugen and the Kyosho are distinctively different. One is pillow ball, the other is C-hub. There are other differences, offset in the rear, all of that. And no matter how you adjust your car, you will not make that Kyosho drive like the Mugen, and you won't make the Mugen drive like the Kyosho. So even though most people did not maximize the performance of their car and then say, oh, it doesn't suit me, and they weren't even in tune with their driving enough to know that, I understood that they had a point. Even though they were wrong in that moment, they had a point. So if we think about the cars as seesaws, seesaw is that, or teeter totter as it is in America. It's that what is it even? It's in playgrounds. It's not a toy. It's this thing that supported in the middle. Then one child goes on one end and another on another, and you can swing like that. If you're exactly the same weight, it stays horizontal. And then if Degani is on one end and Filong on the other, it will just go like that and stay like that, right? You know this, seesaw. So some cars are designed in a way where they're boom, like that. And no matter how much you adjust it, it's still biased to that side. That's where it is. Now, what I wanted to do with the Mayako is figure out what is it that we can put here, balance like that, so you can decide which direction you go. How can we achieve this? And one interesting point actually is in car design and setup, it often isn't best to be here. Like you don't want to be right at some balance point. You actually want to choose a direction. I'm going to go here, or I'm going to go there. So if you have a car where everything is kind of just balanced in this point, it's not going to be consistent track to track. It's not going to be performing at its best when conditions change. So you have to adjust these things to one side, right? But what I wanted to do with the Mayako was make it so that you could adjust it either side, bias it in different ways, which you can't do with a Mugen and you can't do with a Kyosho, right? So with the Mayako, even though the tuning window isn't very big, like you don't have massive amounts of holes to adjust upper links or arm height or anything like that. It's not, the window isn't very big. It's well thought out. And that means that as a driver, you have to pay more attention to the details. And you shouldn't make too big of a change. You shouldn't make like 2 very big changes. Instead, you should maybe do 5 or 6 or 7 very small changes. And that will already have a significant impact on the handling of the car. So with the Mayako, there's 2 choices really. Either you stick to what we recommend and you stay very close to that and you just adjust camber and rope and shock, oil and piston and anti-roll bar, and you'll be happy. I guarantee it. Or you start learning for yourself, what do you want the car to do? And I guarantee you will get the car to do that. And the thing you have to do is put in the effort and the work. You have to go to the track. You have to try these many small things and the combinations of these many small things to get the car to where you want it to be, right? And now, finally, after explaining this, we're going to start talking about that baby. See, to know what to change, if we go back to that first question, what should I change first? To know that, you have to have a connection with the car. And you can't achieve that by magic. The only way you can do this is by consciously thinking about what you're doing and practicing enough to where you create and form that connection. So if you've ever been in the same room with a baby, a toddler, and maybe that toddler's playing with a ball on the floor, and maybe that ball rolls over to you, and you pick up the ball and you pass it back to the baby. Now, chances are the baby's sitting there and you throw the ball and then it clearly sees the ball coming. It's going to hit it smack bang in the head. Baby does nothing. The ball hits it in the head. It starts crying. The mom walks over. Oh, what happened? I was just playing with the baby. The ball rolled over. I threw the ball back to the baby, hit it in the head. I don't know. And then the mom gets mad at you, and then you're thinking, well, you have a retarded baby. You got a dud, Pass the ball. It could see it coming. All it did was, hit it in the head. Why is that? Is the baby really retarded or what? No, I don't think it is. I think the thing is that when that happened, when the ball was approaching, that baby was looking at the ball, but it didn't really know what to do. So it started thinking okay, so this ball is coming at me. What am I supposed to do? It hits it in the head. It hurts a bit, starts crying. Maybe that same scenario repeats itself later on. Now it knows if that ball hits me in the head, it hurts and I start crying. Ball is coming. It thinks, if I dodge the ball, it won't hit me and then it won't hurt. Or maybe I can use these things. I can block it. Maybe I can try to catch it. Well, thinking about all those things, ball already hit you in the head and you're already crying, right? But eventually, by thinking about these things, okay, there's a ball. If it hits me, it's going to hurt. If I dodge, it's going to go by. Maybe I lift up my hand, boom, ball hits the hand. Hey, that was pretty good. Next time, hey, you know what? When the ball hits the hand, if I close my hand at the right time, I can catch it. And then I can repeat that process. I can throw the ball, right? Very basic concepts, but before you know how to do this, before your brain understands what to do, you have to think about these things and you have to perform the action. You have to train your muscles and muscle memory to know what to do. Because here's the thing, later on in life, this baby has been hit in the head so many times by balls. Also, this baby has dodged balls and caught balls. What happens is that now when a ball is approaching, this baby or child doesn't need to think anymore. Hey, there's a ball approaching. I'm going to lift my hand and then I'm going to close it at the right moment to catch the ball. No, because now the subconscious has taken over. You don't need to consciously think about this anymore. So you see something approaching and boom, you didn't have time to think. Your brain just registered moving object towards my head. And your reflex was to raise your hand to block it or catch it and to duck. Your subconscious did that. And your subconscious mind is so much more powerful than your conscious mind. But if you don't train your subconscious mind and your muscles and your movements, coordination, if you don't train this with your conscious mind first, you will never be able to do it very well. Or maybe at all. Okay? Motocross. Talk cars, not basics in life. I'm sorry, but I've been doing this for a long time. And I keep hearing this car doesn't suit me and this and that and very basic things. I want to move people beyond the basics. Talk about more advanced things. But we first need to establish a connection to the car before we can do that. Okay? So this is important. I ride motocross as a hobby. I started as an adult, which is a bad idea. You should start definitely as a child. When I ride my bike, it's incredibly complex to just do a fucking corner. So you can even make it very simple where it's a really good corner. So you're just gonna head to the corner, turn left, and there's a bit of a berm or a rut forming. So you just place the bike in the rut and you do the corner. Okay, you watch someone do it. It's so easy. It is so easy. So you think I'll just do the same thing, and it's not that easy. Okay, so then you think I really want to learn how to do this. I want to do this better. So then what are the things I need to focus on? Okay, well, when you're heading in motocross, when you're heading into the corner, towards the corner, you're standing. So where do you place your feet on the pegs? Okay, on the balls of your feet. You make sure maybe toes are pointing slightly inwards. You make sure that you're squeezing the bike with your knees. Your legs are straight, but not 100% straight. There's a bit of a bend in them. You are leaned over. Your back is straight. Your head is over the handlebars. Your elbows are up. So that you're in a strong position. You aren't looking at the front fender. You're looking up towards where you're going. You're choosing the rut you're going to go into. Okay, you got that. You head into the corner. You start the corner entry. Now you need to sit down. Okay, where do you sit down? Okay, you sit this far forward on the seat. Okay, you extend your inner leg. You make sure that it's not 100% straight, but almost straight. You turn your toes a bit towards the bike. You make sure that the inside leg doesn't hit the ground. So you actually tuck it right into the shroud of the bike, so it's touching the bike. Then you remember that straight back. So you rotate your hips forward. You keep your back straight. You make sure that your chin stays over the handlebar still. You remember your elbows. Your elbows are up. Outside leg. It's resting on the bike. So you're basically squeezing the bike with your legs. Then your outside foot, it's still on the foot peg, but you put it in front of the foot peg a bit. And also you remember to actually apply some force to that outside foot peg. Why do you put it in front? Because as you are doing the corner, you also have to start opening your throttle, because otherwise you'll just fall over, right? So how much? You just want to open your throttle one time. So the right amount to get to not unsettle you. Also remember, you have to stay forward when you open the throttle. Don't go back like that. Okay, so you stay forward, you open the throttle, you start accelerating out, and that right foot that's in front of the foot peg is kind of anchoring, helping to anchor you to the bike. You remember, don't let your hips rotate back, don't round your back. Okay, you think about all these things you're doing, you can't do that. No one can do that. You cannot keep 67 different pieces of information in your brain at the same time and tell your body to do those things. It's not possible. Okay, so you start focusing on a few different things, right? You pick one corner, you do that a million times, but you're thinking about your back and your elbows, for example, or you think about your feet or your knees or legs, or, like you pick things to really focus on, and eventually your subconscious and your body will remember and know to do those things a certain way, right? So you build step by step, you repeat, consciously thinking about some aspect of it. Hey, now I've done this so many times, thinking about my posture, my hips, my back, my elbows, my relaxing my shoulders, all those things. I can do those now. But I completely forgot to add pressure with my outside leg on the peg and put it in front of. Okay, think about that now. So you build up step by step all these things. And then finally, one beautiful day, you do that corner perfectly. Someone maybe films you and you can't even see a mistake in the technique. It's amazing. I made it. I'm the champ now. Okay. Then you add a bit of speed, because when you've been doing this, you haven't been going very fast, because you've been thinking about all these things, learning these things. So now you add some speed. Guess what happens? It all falls apart. What you just learned, all these things, almost all of them disappear. You have terrible form. You can barely do it anymore. You add speed to the equation. Things start happening faster, and you forget about your straight back and head above the handlebars, and you forget about your elbows and your elbow drops, and it's a mess. So you have to add speed slowly, and then remind yourself of these things, and practice and practice and practice, right? Consciously understanding what you're doing, thinking about what you're doing, and eventually it will become second nature. Your subconscious will take over. There's no shortcut. You have to do it that way. As a child, it's easier because children learn things naturally, just pick up on things faster than adults. And if they have someone good teaching them, then the teacher is the one doing the conscious effort, in a sense, guiding the child. But as an adult, you have to do this yourself, and it's harder. Are you following me? So what do we do? What do we do when we drive our RC cars? We just put the car on the track and smash the throttle and drive all over the place, crash, blame the tires for not having grip. What we actually need to do is we need to slow the fuck down so we can drive around the track on the racing line. Step number one. We need to think about what we are doing. It's not as complex as riding a dirt bike around a corner, because we are not in the car. This is not a physical hobby or sport. We are just twiddling our fingers and looking at the car. But it's still complex, because when do you get off the throttle? When do you brake? How much do you brake? When do you turn the wheel, and how much? Are you completely off the brake? Where exactly on the track do you place the car? So get off the throttle, brake. When do you start turning? How much? When the car is entering the corner, how do you know if you turn too much or too little? How do you adjust for that? When do you get on power? How much do you get on power? Do you drive through the corner with a steady amount of throttle, then accelerate, or do you coast around the corner? All of these things, they matter. Do you straighten the wheel as you get on power, or do you get on power after you've straightened the wheel? Or how does that work? Or do you stay on power, straighten, and then add more throttle? Or most of you don't even know. And if you really want to learn to become better drivers, you have to be like that baby and the ball. You have to think about what's happening. You have to think about each action. You have to repeatedly do them until they become second nature and automatic. You have to be like me, trying to learn to ride my dirt bike. That's all you need to do driving your RC car. Consciously thinking about everything you're doing and how you're placing the car, where you're braking, how you're applying throttle, how you're turning, how noticing how you can keep up more speed around the corner, learning about these things. And when you can do this consistently, you can drive 5 minutes around the track, your lap times are very consistent, then we're getting somewhere. Then you can begin to work on your own driving or on the setup of the car. Because now, that I would say a good way to know if you have got there is when you are doing your 5-minute run and you are doing consistent lap times, and you'll find that your mind is wandering. So you are actually thinking about something completely different. Maybe you're thinking about work or some home stuff, or your kids or your wife or your girlfriend, or you're thinking about something else, but you're driving and you're doing consistent lap. That actually means that your subconscious is doing the driving for you at your level consistently. You do not have to focus and concentrate on what you're doing anymore. Do you see what I mean? That means that something has happened. You are now that baby that just boom catches the ball, right? Because you weren't thinking about the actions. You were thinking about I don't know what, your mortgage, but your lap time was the same, right? At this point, now you can work on your driving. You know why? Because instead of thinking about your mortgage and doing your normal lap, now you think again about what you're doing. And now you try to go faster. And when you try to go faster, something will go wrong. Maybe you can't stay online anymore. Or maybe the car starts doing something weird. So you can adjust your driving maybe somehow. Maybe if this one corner, when I go faster, I start losing traction. Okay, but it's kind of a long corner. What if I slow down a bit earlier, then I maintain a steady throttle through that corner? Wow, I could go through there so much faster and the car was stable. So you learn something about driving. If in a corner the car gets unstable because you let off the throttle sort of in the corner, at some speed you can't do that anymore. So what if instead you let off early and then maintain a throttle through that corner? Wow, you could go through there fast and the car could handle it. So you learn something about driving. You can do consistent laps subconsciously. Now you can consciously focus your effort on certain things, certain aspects of driving to try and drive better. The other thing you can do is you can identify where the limit of the car is, where the limit of the setup is. You go through one section and you lose the rear end. You keep losing the rear end. It's like, why? The car is not good here. And then you think, what could I change on the car to make it go through this section? So maybe it's as simple as I'm going to try playing with camber a bit. I'm going to reduce rear camber just slightly, see if it has more grip. You go through there. Hey, I went through there the same way. The car was fine. And I only changed camber. So now you identified a performance limit of the car. You made an adjustment and it fixed the problem. Now you're making headway. If the people who told me the car doesn't suit me, if they did this and they were at this level, then I'd listen to them more, right? But they don't, because this takes work. And it's much easier to just drive your car than drive your friend's car that's better than yours because it's better prepared. Go faster and say, oh, this car doesn't suit me. Right? What range would you consider as consistent lapping with a 1 sec, 0.7, 0.5? I mean, if you're on a 40-second, if you're on a 40-second 8-scale buggy track and all your laps are within 1 second, that's good. But I would say if you, for me, I'm happy when my best lap to my average is half a second. That's normally what I check, like my best lap to my average. But I should check like best to worst lap and see. But I mean, when you are within a second, it's already good. When you start talking about half a second and tenths, then it's very, very good for 8-scale off-road. So, and that's what the top drivers can do. Like they go out there and they drive all laps within half a second. You know, it's crazy when you think about it, but yeah. How a mortgage can make you a consistent driver. Exactly. The mortgage, when you're thinking about the mortgage, that's the sign that now you have made it. You can drive subconsciously. Where were we? So now you're at the stage where through practice with a purpose, consciously thinking about what you're doing, repeating that, your subconscious, your muscle memory has been trained by you. You can now drive much better because you put in some effort, some elbow grease. Now you can consciously think about certain aspects of driving to improve your skills as a driver, or you can identify the performance limit of the car because you have this connection with the car now. You can feel and sense what it's doing. So now you can start making changes to the setup. Notice those changes. You can notice the change in lap time, and you can also notice a change in feel. In some sections, the car is easier. So other sections, it's harder to drive. So those things, you need to note down those things. You need to try all kinds of different things and start building a library of knowledge for yourself, for your own driving, for your own own experience, because you can read my book or watch my course videos, YouTube videos. They really help to, let's say, increase the pace of learning for you, but they aren't the knowledge itself, right? You will have a basic understanding of what you need to do at the track, and you can do those things, and you can it's a very good resource to have with you. But to really know and to really understand, you have to do it yourself. To know how a car feels with 1.5 toe-in versus 3, and how to know if less toe-in is better or more, you can read about that or you can watch a video about that. But to really understand, you have to do it yourself. There's no shortcut. I'm struggling with driver stand jitters. I choke on the stand during races. Any tips? Get a mortgage and think about it. But seriously, choking is basically you start consciously doing what your subconscious should do. You start thinking about things that you shouldn't. You start thinking, oh, I can't crash here. I have to clear this jump. I have to. Immediately when you start doing that, chances of you actually failing at doing that, they grow. The best way to avoid nerves and really shaking and or choking is racing more, being in that situation more, and that will give you confidence. Also, when your car is easier to drive for you, you will be less nervous, because the car, even if you get nervous for just a moment, that the stability of the car will help you calm down. But if your car is very difficult to drive, you don't have that. You just have to be so precise when you drive. So it's harder. The best thing really is to just put yourself in that situation more. So race more, be in that situation that you get nervous in more often, and that will help to calm the nerves. That's the best way. And mentally also, it's good to try to distance yourself a bit from the moment. In a sense, you still like think about driving or what you are doing in a different way. One thing that I used to do was, actually, I would imagine that I wasn't even driving the RC car, but that it was motocross. And it's a weird thing, but when I did that, I sort of distanced myself a bit from making the mistake of starting to micromanage consciously my driving, which then leads to choking and making mistakes. But when you are more sort of placing the car and maintaining speed and not being not micromanaging the driving, but just thinking about the sort of speed and flow and that kind of stuff, then I found that to be better. Am I late for RC philosophy class? Yes. You have to go watch from the beginning. We talked about babies and motocross and all that stuff. Race more racing to remove the jitter so you feel comfortable. I say to myself when I'm nervous, I think I'm driving a fun test session. Yeah. Yeah. Remember that it's just a hobby, most likely for you guys. So, yeah, it's serious, but not that serious. No need to get too nervous. Okay. I think we'll do the diff height thing in the Mayako members meeting only because it's so late. So any comments about what we just discussed? Here's one. So the best way to do this is to start with a base setup. But if the setup is way off and you are not able to adapt to that, what then? I'm that guy that can't drive a car that didn't do what I want. Well, there's one way to, there's a cheat code. Okay, there's one cheat code. Have someone who is actually, if you are not that great yet, okay, and you don't know if a car is okay or not, have someone who is a much better driver than you drive your car, just to verify that there's not some glaringly obvious issue. So if that more experienced person, like let's say I was there and I drove your car, I could immediately say like, okay, I wouldn't drive the car like this, but it's fine. The car is fine. You can learn to drive with this. I can get around the track. I can do everything. It's not doing anything crazy. If you have a car like that, then you can learn with that. Doesn't matter at this stage what you prefer. Maybe you don't even know. So just learn this with that car. Teach your muscle, like create that muscle memory, teach your subconscious what to do, how to drive a car. And then once you do that, then you can start adjusting the car to more suit you, because now you can actually tell what you want. I have great practice sessions during a race when there's 13 nitro truggy revving the engines. Sometimes I struggle not being able to hear my own ride. Any tips? Okay, well, let's analyze the grammar in this sentence. I have great practice sessions during a race when there's 13 nitro truggy revving their engines. Sometimes I struggle not being able to hear my own ride. Any tips? Well, punctuation would help a lot. There's some good jokes and memes online where punctuation changes the entire meaning of a sentence. And then here, I guess you have great practice sessions when there are those 13 truggies revving the engines, but sometimes you struggle hearing your own car. But they are great sessions, even though you're not hearing your car. I'm going to assume, I see, this could go either way. Either you actually like it that you can't hear your car, and that's why you do well. Or because you said that you sometimes you struggle not being able to hear your car, maybe it's that you have great practice sessions, but then when you can't hear your car, then you struggle. Then it's not as good. See, the punctuation really matters, you know? You should really, think about how you write these questions so I answer them accurately. But I would say that I like to hear my own car. I drive the best when I can practice alone, right? Because when I'm alone, I can really hear the car and the engine, especially nitro. It's more a nitro thing. When I can hear my engine, I sort of know how much power I have easier than when I can't hear it. So I definitely prefer hearing my car. But then when it's really noisy, like Neo, so indoor race, super noisy, I can't really hear my car that good. I actually liked running earplugs because too much noise made it harder for me to drive. So then earplugs helped to where I can't hear my car anyway. So at least now I'm more calm because there's less noise. Nathaniel, if I can't stay in the groove, then I'm driving too fast. I slow down first, even adjust the radio settings. I don't make any changes until I drive a few consistent laps. Very good, sir. Exactly. First, you find consistency, and then you figure out what the problem is. Was it that you had too many beers, or is it something on the car? Maybe you should practice with earplugs in so you can get used to how your car reacts to input using visual indicators. Maybe. Okay. Fix the whole fund incoming. That's it. No beers. Can't have any beers. No super chats. We can't have beers next time. Damn it. Okay. I think I'm going to head over to the Mayako members area and talk about diff heights. But I hope that my point came across. I don't want you to go out there and say that this car doesn't suit me, right? Because 0 of you watching this video can legitimately say that. That's a fact. Looking forward to the new book. Thank you for contributing so much to my learning of RC setup. By the way, well, thank you first, but the book is sold out now. The English language book is sold out. I have about 10 copies here that I'll sell wherever, when I go to some races or something. But online, it's sold out. French and English books sold out. I still have Italian, Spanish, and German. Next book will include a lot more about practice and racing and something else that I can't remember right now. Oh yeah, better explanation about initial grip versus overall grip, and also pictures of corners and breaking down the sections of corners, because setup, what we are doing is very often linked to how the car handles in corners, right? But not all the sections of a corner. So corner entry, mid corner, corner exit. Where do these setup changes actually have an effect, and how? Where does initial grip come into play on a particular setting? You know, which part of the corner? So we're going to break down this information a bit more, try to make it even more clear. That's something we'll also do. And then, yeah, just make it look nicer, new illustrations, more illustrations. And yeah, that's end of this summer. That's the goal. So it's, I mean, the same information as now, but then add on to that and improve on what's already there. That's the idea. Thanks for the tip, pardon my grammar. Okay, next time, classic muscle garage. Next time, I'm looking forward to a really specific and well punctuated question. Okay, we can do it together. I believe in you. Write some case studies in the next book. Setup changes during a race. Where did you start and where did you end up and why? Yes, actually we will. So in the Invisible Speed live meetings, we've done this kind of thing with different drivers. And I have a few also already, and we will put those in the book also. Have a beer on me. Thank you, Carl. Now we can have a beer next week. Bonfab RC. I've watched a few of your videos now and I've never disappointed. Always very informative. And on that note, we're going to move over to the Mayako member area where maybe there's still someone there. And we're going to talk about diff heights. Because on this thing, we can adjust the height of the diff and it matters. And we're going to talk about how it matters soon. Okay. I think that's it then. Rewatch this if you started late. Okay? It's important. Okay. Over and out. If there's Mayako people here, see you in... there'll be a link to Zoom in Discord soon. Cool. Thank you, RGX Racing. Thank you. See you next time. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. See you. I need a new microphone and figure out why this camera is extremely random. But at least it worked now. So, see you later.